On the line, we will find candidate for Senate, Jim Oberweis. Jim, good morning to you. How are you doing this morning?
Good morning. Things are terrific. This is a pretty good morning.
Yeah, we're sitting here looking at some very interesting poll results you've got to be pleased with.
Very pleased. And not only was the Sun-Times out with a great poll, which showed us within 7 points, but we'll be releasing this morning our own poll, which shows that it's within 6 points. These are the new polls, and of course Mr. Durbin had a poll himself for his own campaign, which he's refused to release. Guess why?
Well, once you factor in margin of error and such, I mean, this is a tightening race in a closer race than many people thought would have been possible. And as you mentioned, Jim, it's not just one poll, it's now multiple polls saying that. Where are you seeing some of your momentum come in this race?
Well, to be honest with you, I have spent quite a bit of time on the south side of Chicago trying to understand some of the challenges that the African American community faces, and we've made some great inroads. Pastor Corey Brooks, also known as the Rooftop Pastor, has endorsed our campaign. He's just one terrific individual who literally spent 3 months on the roof of a motel across the street from his church. That was pretty well known for prostitution and drug sales. And he said he was going to stay up there until people donated enough money for them to be able to tear it down and ultimately build a new community center. And he did exactly that. They got the money. It's been torn down. It's now a vacant center, and they're hoping to eventually build a community center on that property. On Sunday, I was endorsed by Bishop Trotter, which was a second major endorsement in that community. And I believe they're supporting me because there are three issues that I've been talking about consistently. One is the importance of jobs, the importance of getting our economy moving faster again so that more jobs are created. As more jobs are created, it creates more demand for labor, which helps to boost wages at the same time. All these are very good for the economy, very good for the African-American community. By the way, pretty good for the rest of the state as well. Secondly, education. To get a good job, people have to get a good education. I've been a strong supporter of school choice. My opponent, Mr. Durbin, has killed a pilot program in Washington, D.C. that was a great program that allowed the money to follow the student. So if the student went to school A got the money. If the student went to school B got the money. That competition between schools means that both schools will end up doing better because they're competing to get the education dollars. Mr. Durbin killed that program because he's totally controlled by the union bosses that don't like competition. So I've won on that score as well. And thirdly, the violence issue, which admittedly is one of the most difficult problems to solve of all. Pastor Corey Brooks has a program called Brothers on the Blocks, where he's asked 5,000 men to come out on Friday nights and stand on the 500 highest crime corners. I've been out 5 times on the corner of 79th and Cottage Grove talking to people. And let me tell you, these people are very friendly. Some of them said, gee, I've never seen a white Republican here before, but thank you very much for coming. I appreciate it, and I'm going to vote for you. And that's the kind of reaction we're getting. And to be honest with you, the people on the corner of 79th and Cottage Grove have probably been friendlier than in some suburbs of Chicago or even in Rockford, Illinois.
Jim Oberweis with us, U.S. Senate candidates, Riley and Scott here on WROK. I was reading the write-up from the Sun-Times on the Bishop Trotter endorsement. And Dick Durbin's spokesman here, showing, again, a bit of the arrogance that runs through the campaign. Quoting here, spokesman on your endorsement from Bishop Trotter, it's quite baffling that any leader in the black community would choose to endorse such an extreme Tea Party candidate. Boy, oh boy, what is he trying to say? If you're an African-American, he thinks that you cannot support a Republican or else what?
Exactly. I mean, that's the height of arrogance, and that's the way the Durbin campaign has been. Arrogant and bully. I mean, these guys have attempted to bully downstate radio stations who ran an anti-Durbin ad. That was not my ad, by the way. It had nothing to do with it. But Durbin didn't like it. And he sent a letter to the stations asking them to pull those ads. And the stations that wouldn't pull it, he threatened to go to the FEC regarding their licenses. And that is such typical schoolyard bully stuff that it's terrible. And he used the IRS to attack political opponents, asking them to investigate conservative organizations. That type of stuff should never happen. It was wrong when Richard Nixon did it, and it's wrong when Richard Durbin does it. But it shows that his 32 years in Washington has made him so arrogant that he no longer respects the individual rights of other Americans.
Spending some time with Jim Oberweis. He would like your vote as the next senator from Illinois. And, Jim, let's go back to what you were talking about, where you're the neighborhoods that you've been visiting and spending some time and getting to know people. You had mentioned to us before when we spoke that you're hearing from people, in addition to being really nice to you, you're hearing from them that they've never met your opponent.
That's correct. He's taken them for granted. He doesn't visit there. They don't know him. They haven't met him. And as a result, I think a lot of people are coming to the conclusion, the Democrats have taken us for granted for too many years. And what has it done us? Well, the policies of Dick Durbin have meant that since the last time Dick Durbin ran for re-election, the typical Illinois family is now earning $5,053 less money in annual income than they were the last time he ran for re-election. So what have his policies accomplished? Nothing. He likes to talk about he's for the poor and middle class, but his policies have clearly hurt the poor and middle class. It's time that we try something different. I believe I understand what it will take to get our economy growing again at 3 or 4 or 5% instead of 1 or 2%. And that will help people all across the state of Illinois, whether it's Rockford or the south side of Chicago.
State Senator Jim Oberweis running for U.S. Senate. It's Riley and Scott here on WROK. Now, considering we've had multiple polls now showing it a single-digit race with the incumbent with less than 50% support, it seems like voters would like to hear more from the candidates, perhaps before making up their minds. But Dick Durbin's campaign has agreed to only one televised debate between now and Election Day. One televised TV debate. What does that say about their campaign, you think?
Well, yeah, it's quite clear that he doesn't want to talk about the issues. He doesn't want people to know where he stands on the issues. And I think the voter, again, that's more arrogance. I believe the voters of Illinois have a right to hear where he stands and compare that where I stand on the issues, and then be able to make an intelligent choice. We like to complain that voters frequently aren't knowledgeable about where candidates stand on issues. Well, that may be true, but here's a chance to give voters a chance to learn about those positions, and Durbin is fighting against that. He doesn't want them to know where they are on the issues, because clearly, if I can hold him accountable for what he has done in his time in office, and he's been in Washington for 32 years now, I believe that the voters of Illinois will reject him.
And looking at some of the polling numbers and some of the specifics on this, when you are really catching the attention of independents.
Correct. The polling that we've done, and I believe the polling Sun-Times has done, has shown that independent voters are breaking my way. Again, I think those are voters who understand that the policies of Durbin have failed and that we ought to try something different. And I believe that's going to continue to impact this race. And to the degree that it does, there is a real chance to send a message across this country that we're tired of the failed policies of the Democrat administration.
Jim Oberweis with us just another minute or two. It's Riley and Scott here on WROK. Jobs and the economy is so important to people across the state and across the country, but specifically here in Rockford, where the recovery has been slower than elsewhere. You get Democratic rule in Springfield, Democrats in Washington, too. If Republicans can pick up the U.S. Senate, perhaps put some bills onto the president's desk to either sign or veto, what kind of maneuvers might be possible to help put in place policies that will increase employment in Illinois?
Well, look, I'm a Republican, so I'd like to say that Republicans get it all right, and Democrats get it wrong, but that's not true. And I'd probably like to see the Republicans controlling the legislature and the governorship, or in Washington, the legislature and the presidency. But the truth of the matter is, we probably get the best legislation when we have to negotiate with the other party to arrive at a meaningful compromise. Ronald Reagan and Tip O'Neill had very different policies, yet they were able to come together in ways that helped our nation. In Springfield, if we begin to have a Republican governor working with the Democrat legislature, chances are we're going to get better legislation than what we've had in this state for a long time when it's been controlled by one party, and we've gotten very, very bad legislation. And again, if in Washington, if the Republicans control the Congress, but the Democrats have the presidency, I believe we'll get better legislation because both sides will have to work together to compromise to come up with the best ideas from both parties. And I believe that will be best for our country.
State Senator Jim Oberweis. For people who want to, go ahead, Scott.
You were just going to say, I know you're coming to the Rockford area, I think, in about 2.5 weeks or so, and we look forward to having you in studio. I think that's September 22nd. You'll be back here in studio with us, so we look forward to that too, Jim.
I'm looking forward to it as well. In the meantime, if people would like to know more about our campaign, we'd love to have them go to our website, which is www.jimoberweis.com, and Oberweis is O-B as in boy, E-R-W-E-I-S.
All right. Jim, as always, we appreciate your generosity with your time, and look forward to talking to you again real soon.
Thanks, guys, and have a wonderful day.